Nate had just taken over as the manager of the office and wasted no time in shaking things up. His first act was to cut salaries, including his own, leaving most of the staff feeling undervalued and disrespected. Many submitted their resignation letters, but those who remained were left with double the workload. Even the janitor, who was already underpaid, quit due to Nate's antics. Finding a replacement for her was a challenge, as no one was willing to work for such low pay. Despite pleas from the HR manager, Nate refused to increase the salary and instead complained about the state of the office every morning during staff meetings. Frustration over the state of the office's cleanliness and the absence of a janitor. Despite the fact that the office was running smoothly and the weekly reports showed positive results, Nate seemed fixated on this one issue. He even threatened to make cleaning part of the HR manager's duties if a replacement for the janitor wasn't found soon. The HR manager was apprehensive about confronting Nate about his irrational demands and instead coped with the stress by taking anti-anxiety pills. Her hair was neatly tied up in a ponytail. Nate was taken aback by her appearance and felt a pang of guilt for underestimating her. He offered her a chair and gestured for Mrs. Bennett to bring some water. As they communicated through written notes, Nate learned that her name was Maria and that she had been working as a cleaner for a small business nearby, but they had to let her go due to financial difficulties. She had been searching for a new job for weeks but had no luck, and the cardboard boxes she was collecting were for recycling, which was a small source of income for her. Nate was touched by her story and decided to offer her a job at his company as a janitor, with a salary that was higher than what she had earned before. Maria was surprised and grateful for the opportunity, and Nate felt a sense of satisfaction for being able to help someone in need. He realized that success and wealth did not always guarantee happiness, and that sometimes it was the small acts of kindness that could bring the greatest sense of fulfillment. From that day on, he made a conscious effort to be more compassionate and considerate towards others, no matter their background or status. Never complained and always wore it faithfully, hoping to catch even the slightest sound. Nate noticed the hostility towards Lauren and was deeply troubled by it. He could not tolerate such behavior in his workplace and decided to take action. He called a team meeting and addressed the issue, reminding everyone of the importance of respect and kindness towards their colleagues, regardless of their background or abilities. He also took the opportunity to educate the team about the challenges faced by deaf people in their daily lives and how they could help to make the workplace more inclusive for Lauren. He suggested some basic sign language lessons, which the team enthusiastically agreed to. To Nate's surprise, Lauren was a quick learner and within a few weeks, she was able to communicate more effectively with her colleagues. The team also began to appreciate her hard work and dedication, and slowly but surely, the teasing and mocking stopped. Nate felt proud of his team and himself for making a positive change in their workplace. He realized that a leader's responsibility is not just to achieve success, but also to create a positive and inclusive environment for all members of the team. From that day on, he made sure to hire more diverse staff and continued to educate his team on the importance of inclusivity and respect. He learned that a small act of kindness can have a significant impact on someone's life, and that true success is measured not just by financial gain, but also by the positive impact one makes in the lives of others. An opportunity to deflect blame onto others and avoid taking responsibility for his own mistakes. Despite the chaotic environment at work, Lauren remained focused on her job and continued to do her best. One day, while cleaning the conference room, she overheard a conversation between Nate and Mrs. Bennett about the upcoming board meeting. It seemed that Nate was planning to blame Lauren for the company's poor performance and use her as a scapegoat to save his own job. Lauren was devastated to hear this, but she knew that she had to do something to protect herself. That night, Lauren worked on a plan to expose Nate's lies and prove her own innocence. She spent hours researching the company's financial records and gathering evidence to support her case. The next day, during the board meeting, Lauren presented her findings to the CEO and the rest of the board members. Her evidence was irrefutable, and it became clear that Nate was the one responsible for the company's decline. Nate was fired on the spot, and Lauren was praised for her hard work and dedication to the company. The board members were impressed by her intelligence and resourcefulness, and they offered her a new position as a financial analyst. Lauren was thrilled to accept the job offer, and she quickly proved herself to be an invaluable asset to the company. Her colleagues began to respect her even more, and they stopped teasing and ridiculing her. In the end, Lauren's determination and hard work paid off. She was able to overcome the obstacles that life had thrown at her and achieve success in a competitive and challenging environment. Her story is a reminder that with perseverance and courage, anyone can achieve their dreams, no matter how difficult the road may seem. Up with time. Nolan was impressed by her dedication and determination and decided to investigate further. Nolan began to gather more information on Lauren and her background, discovering that she had a degree in business administration and had been forced into homelessness after being laid off from her previous job. With this new knowledge, Nolan decided to take a risk and offer Lauren a job in the company's business development department. Despite her initial hesitation, Lauren accepted the offer and soon became an invaluable asset to the company, using her knowledge and skills to turn the branch around and increase profits. Nate, however, was not pleased with Lauren's sudden rise in the company and began to plot against her, spreading false rumors and trying to undermine her work. However, Nolan was determined to protect Lauren and offered her a promotion to a higher position in the company, effectively taking away Nate's power and authority. With Lauren's leadership and Nolan's guidance, the branch began to thrive once again, and the negative atmosphere and tension in the office dissipated. Lauren's colleagues began to respect and appreciate her, and she was finally able to overcome the constant harassment and ridicule she had endured for so long. In the end, Nolan's decision to take a risk and trust in Lauren's abilities not only saved the branch from certain failure but also gave Lauren a second chance at a successful career and a better life. The power of perseverance, determination, and trust ultimately triumphed over negativity and adversity. Nolan's branch was once successful, but after several visits, he noticed a sense of unease among the employees. To salvage the business, Nolan decided to install hidden cameras throughout the office to uncover the truth about what was really happening. He dedicated himself to monitoring the office every day from open to close, meticulously gathering information and evidence to understand the reasons behind the decline. During a meeting, Nolan was presented with a well-crafted business development plan that caught him off guard. The neat, feminine handwriting struck Nolan as odd, and his further investigation gave him more clues that Nate's mind was as convoluted and erratic as his handwriting. Nolan viewed the recorded videos and was shocked to discover that the cleaning lady, Lauren, had spent a significant amount of time working on the papers late into the night. She was completely focused and engrossed in her work, creating graphs and diagrams with ease as if she had been doing it for years. Nolan realized that he had overlooked so many things at his branch and summoned Nate to his office the next morning. Everyone in the office was too afraid to speak or move, fearing Nolan's wrath as he scolded Nate. Nolan was astounded at the number of high-class employees he had lost due to Nate's arrogant behavior. When Nate attempted to take credit for someone else's work, Nolan had enough and fired him on the spot. As Nate made his way towards the exit, Nolan asked his secretary to bring in Lauren, the cleaning lady. Lauren, who was deaf, silently entered the office, and Nolan gestured for her to sit down. He wanted to know more about her and realized that despite her deafness, she was intelligent and not disadvantaged in any way. As they began to speak, Lauren shared her story with Nolan. She grew up in a very poor family, but from a young age she had a love for learning new things. Despite the difficult circumstances of her household, where her parents would drink heavily and engage in drunken fights at night, she worked hard on her studies. From the 3rd grade until she graduated, Lauren would seek refuge in an abandoned house near her apartment to study on the days her parents were drinking. In the morning, she would slip back home quietly to grab her clothes and rush to school. Despite the challenging circumstances, Lauren managed to excel in her studies and had no difficulties getting accepted into a business school. She was a smart and determined student who was well liked by all her teachers, and she had a bright future ahead of her. Nolan was impressed by Lauren's resilience and determination to succeed despite the challenges she faced. He offered her a job at the branch and promised to support her in any way he could. Lauren accepted the offer, and soon she became an essential part of the team. Under her leadership, the branch started to improve, and Nolan was happy to see that his decision to hire her was the right one. From that day on, Nolan learned to pay attention to the little things and to never overlook anyone's potential, no matter their background or circumstances. Lauren had a natural ability to understand concepts quickly and was always willing to assist her classmates. It came as no surprise to anyone that Lauren graduated with the highest GPA. Business administration was her favorite subject and her lifelong aspiration. It was there where she first met her first love, Connor, who was a year older. As soon as they saw each other in the university's east hallway, they knew they had fallen in love. However, Connor's wealthy family disapproved of their relationship, particularly the idea of their son marrying a smart but financially challenged woman. Despite this, their love was so strong that Connor proposed to Lauren, expressing that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. Lauren and her fiancé Connor went to visit her friends outside the city one day. They were in high spirits, especially since they were due to get married in a week. They were getting close to their friend's country house, where everyone was already waiting for them when a dense fog descended. Suddenly, everything around them was white and hazy. They didn't even realize when the headlights of an oncoming car shone right into their windshield. There was a terrible screech of brakes, a crash. When Lauren regained consciousness, she was already in an ambulance. The first thing Lauren asked about was her fiancé's well-being. She fainted upon learning that he had passed away. When she woke up in the hospital room, Lauren immediately realized that something had changed in her life. From that moment on, she became deaf. The doctors were unable to explain the sudden loss of hearing and attributed it to stress. Despite her hearing loss and difficult mental state, she pleaded with the doctors to allow her to attend her lover's funeral, but she was denied even the chance to visit his grave. Connor's parents blamed her for the accident, and claimed that if it weren't for her and her broke friends, she wouldn't have gone to the country house. In the end, almost lunging at her with her fists, Connor's mother literally hissed, "I will make her life miserable. You can only get a job as a janitor at best. You will cry regretting that you ruined my son." The only thing that the poor girl regretted at that moment was that she didn't die instead of Connor. After all, no one needed her anyway. Her mom changed roommates like gloves and soon managed to burn down their house when she was having drinking sprees with another one of them. Her life was full of woes: no job, no home, no love, and now, no hearing. It was impossible to get a job. No one was interested in a deaf, fragile beggar. In the beginning, she taught herself how to read lips. After some time, she managed to earn a bit of extra money by cleaning at the local market. She spent that money on a cheap hearing aid. It didn't restore her hearing completely, but it allowed her to hear some words. From then on, she started to wander around. She found a small shed where she could take shelter. Despite her difficult circumstances, she never complained about her fate. Her life, because she had already seen so much unfairness, she was content with her beloved pets who were her closest companions. The only problem was that when the weather turned cold, her pets would freeze since the room in the abandoned house was not heated. Even at that moment, she was worried about her pets' well-being. Nolan sat there quietly listening to her sad story. At the end of the story, she remembered the tragic accident involving Connor. He knew his rich parents, and was saddened by what happened. That same day, he offered Lauren, a highly qualified business graduate, to become the new executive director of the branch, and when she agreed, he was very satisfied with the decision. The branch improved rapidly. Nolan visited the branch frequently. Sometimes he was even seen picking up Lauren from work. At some point, everyone knew they were dating, and eventually the news of their marriage became known to everyone. Nolan made her a perfect gift. One day he dropped by the branch after lunch. He knocked on Laura's office, and when he entered he saw that she was all consumed as usual. "Honey, take a break, will ya? I got you something." In his hands was a certificate making her the owner of an animal shelter where all her pets were residing. As she settled into her new home with her husband, she would not have the time to take care of them in the foreseeable future. On top of everything, she was excitedly preparing for the arrival of a baby boy. When Nolan heard the news, he was overjoyed. There's one more miracle that happened in Lauren's life that even doctors couldn't explain. Her hearing suddenly returned as if it was never gone, making her fully functional. The large and spacious house of the businessman was now filled with the warmth and comfort of a home. What are your thoughts on the story and characters? How would you handle things differently? Share your thoughts, as they may be helpful for those experiencing difficult times. If you enjoyed this story, please consider liking and subscribing for more.